2 months ago we presented you our review of the MOZA R3, and since then we have continued testing, and one of the biggest weaknesses we found in our test has now been fixed. The R3 now works on the Xbox with F124 and even better with Assetto Corsa Competizione. Since the R3 is one of the most important beginner's wheels on Xbox and PC, we wanted to give you a guide to the setup, the settings, and a few tips so that you don't have to spend a lot of time tinkering, but can have fun racing as quickly as possible. Welcome back to Overtake, I'm Michel, and if you're interested in the MOZA R3 bundle, the first priority, and it should be always like that, is to make an informed purchase decision. Let's say you want to buy your first direct drive wheel and you have a certain budget limit. So if we stay in the MOZA ecosystem, an R5 or even the R9 bundles are out of the question. Especially with the R5, you should look for special offers. It normally costs 200 euros more than the R3 here in the EU or Germany, but it's currently on sale, so the difference is only 70 euros. Instead of the R3's 3.9 Newton meter, the R5 offers 5.5, which is a noticeable jump that feels a bit more serious, and the finish and material of the wheel is also a bit better. However, there's only one factor that may be decisive for you. Only the ESX wheel that comes with the R3 bundle makes the MOZA wheelbases Xbox compatible, so there is no other bundle yet with ESX and another wheelbase. Other than that, I would like to reiterate the conclusion of our review. The R3 is a small powerhouse that surprises with its compactness and still delivers respectable power and detail in the force feedback, especially with the light and thin ESX wheel. Beginners, casual drivers and kids in particular will have a lot of fun with it. We'll be doing a comprehensive overview of entry-level wheels soon, but we can already say that the R3 is definitely one of our recommendations, especially in combination with the Xbox. If you don't want to miss the next videos and you like what we are doing here, please like the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be notified. When you first unpack your bundle of wheel, R3 base, pedals and table clamp as René did back in the days, you should briefly familiarize yourself with the connections and cabling, which are explained in detail in the manuals for both the Xbox and the PC. On the Xbox, the pedals must always be connected to the RJ port. On the PC, they can theoretically be connected separately via USB. The R3 is certainly often installed with the desk clamp on the desk, so we tried it out too. It holds the wheel firmly in place. The pedals had a good grip on our floor mat, even though it's not perfect, but it is advisable to support them somehow at the back. It is also actually advisable to order the brake with the performance kit from the accessories. A little more resistance makes the feeling much better than just pressing against the Hall sensor. Especially on cars without ABS, you need to be able to apply the brakes more precisely and build up muscle memory for your driving. This small add-on with the spring and elastomer can be easily installed in less than 5 minutes and significantly enhances the brake, really. However, the resistance will be too great for the pedals to be freestanding, so bolting them down is unavoidable then. However, the bolt pattern on the wheelbase and also the pedals allows the bundle to be mounted on most sim rigs, in our case on the SimLab PX1 Pro, as you can see here. It is important to know and useful that you can switch the mode of the R3 between PC and Xbox by pressing and holding down S1 and S2 button at the same time. This is sometimes useful even for troubleshooting, switching back and forth if the wheel is not properly detected by the Xbox or does not provide force feedback. Especially happens in our case when we have a longer break from playing, coming back to the Xbox, force feedback is gone. Just switching back and forth solves the problem. When setting up the wheel for the first time, it is recommended that you connect the wheel at least once to a PC or laptop and download MOZA Pit House from there. This is the only way to get the latest firmware for your devices. For Xbox-only users, it is also highly recommended to download the MOZA Companion app for iOS or Android, as at some point you may want to customize the wheel's angle, the rotation, to suit your preferences or in-game settings. It is also advisable to work with the presets, especially for beginners. For example, Assetto Corsa Competizione has a preset hidden there under the GT segment in the presets that sets the wheel to 900 degrees, optimizes a few settings, and for EA Sports WRC you can use the Rally preset, which sets the wheel then to 540 degrees, which is a bit more optimal. Then check the control settings or the wheel settings of each title in-game to see if the values match or use the calibration. F124 still has quite a wheel angle rotation problem with our setup, as you can see. If you set it to 360 degrees in the game and on the wheel, it's still extremely nervous. You have to set it to like 2000 or even more degrees in the app to get it the right angle in-game, so there a patch is urgently needed, I think. While the OG Assetto Corsa Competizione and WRC feel the best to us with this wheelbase on Xbox, you can also have a good time with Forza Motorsport. It just has a different approach and has the most cars and track combinations on Xbox and is still getting a lot of updates. The cars, for me, feel a bit spongy and floaty, but after experimenting with the settings and getting used to a few races, I had some fun with it. I'll also show you the wheel settings I use to drive Forza Motorsport. The dead zones are always a matter of faith. I'm more of a fan of no dead zones at all, and even the lowest input counts. While I might still would buy a steering wheel for Forza Motorsport because the clean driving feels rewarding in the end, I wouldn't say the same for Forza Horizon 5, the more arcadish title. As mentioned in the review earlier, this title gives me just no feel for the axles and weight of the vehicle. For me, clearly a gamepad title. In general, you must accept that there aren't as many buttons on the Xbox as there are on the PC, which we also discussed in our review. However, the layout in ACC, for example, allows you to quickly adjust TC and ABS with the left and right buttons and access the in-car menu with the menu button, so you can change also your different car settings and go into the pit stop menu and so on. Incidentally, shift LEDs do not work on the Xbox, in case you were wondering when you saw the gameplay. This is simply because, unlike the PS5, for example, this Microsoft console does not support these telemetry functions. One topic that even beginners should have heard of is clipping. Along with audio-visual cues and basic steering angle, force feedback is the most important sensor for feeling what the car is doing. If I lose traction on the rear axle, my car starts to understeer and push over the front wheels. My tires lock up even when braking without ABS, and so on. Now it can happen that the game's output produces stronger forces than the R3's motor can produce. At that moment, the effects we feel through the steering wheel are literally cut off, clipped, and we talk about clipping. The more torque a wheelbase can generate, the less likely it is that this effect will occur, and of course it also depends on how the individual sim or game is tuned. On the Xbox, it's also possible to see FFB scaling and clipping in ACC or in Forza Motorsport telemetry, for example. In case of ACC, you can see here, this bar will turn red, this FFB bar, when you're losing effects. If this happens every time you take a slight curb or when the car slides, you may want to gradually reduce the force feedback in the driver or the game. With a 3.9 Nm wheel, however, you don't want to lose too much more force, so you will have to find a compromise that feels good to you. With 100% in the driver and 80% in the game in ACC, it was okay for me, and the clipping was only slightly visible on harder curbs. Be sure to keep this in mind, especially when you start to take this more seriously. Another topic that I just want to touch on is field of view, FOV. I will link you one of the most famous FOV calculators down below in the comments. It's self-explaining. It just measures your screen size, your resolution, and your distance to the screen, maybe if you have curved, and then you get a FOV value, and you can just use that in the view settings, for example, on ACC as shown here, to get a more natural view. And I think this dashboard view with the wheel directly before the screen is pretty much the best you can have with a fitting FOV. We hope you have enjoyed our additional explanations and that they have helped you getting started in virtual racing with a steering wheel. It's definitely worth it and a lot of fun, even if a little research is sometimes necessary. However, there are plenty of places to go, especially for the wheel settings of various games, as well as other YouTubers who put a lot of energy into explaining everything in great detail. The forums and community on overtake.gg can also be a good place to start. Check it out. Here's another video from us. See you next time.